Hey, good evening, guys. This is step 10, day 70 in your Overcomers course that you're doing, and you're moving along and doing well. I want to encourage you. Um, we are 20 days away from completing this, so you're 3 weeks to complete your 12-step program. That's fantastic, guys. Really proud of you. I want to encourage you to keep it up. Keep up the good work. You're doing really, really well. So, day 70. All right. So, let's start off with our 12 steps. On page 5, step 1, I admit that I am powerless over the problem controlling my life. Step 2, I acknowledge my belief that God, the source of all power, will restore me to sanity and sobriety. Step 3, I make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as He instructs me. Step 4, I determine to work with God to make a daily inspection of my character. Step 5, I admit the exact nature of my character defects to God, myself, and another person. Step 6, I am ready to let God remove all my character defects. Step 7, I humbly ask God to place positive character qualities in me. Step 8, I make a list of all the people I have harmed and become willing to make amends. Step 9, I make sincere amends to the people I've harmed and forgive those who have harmed me. Step 10, where you guys are right now. I continue to practice daily what I've learned. So this is just really putting into practice, repetition, learning a bit of repetition in a good way to move forward. Step 11, I seek to strengthen my relationship with God through prayer and meditation. Step 12, I determine to take this message of God's peace and freedom to others. And I want you to know as you complete your program that we're putting in place some things that are going to help people move forward. We're looking at developing aftercare for people who go through programs, how to help you get connected to the body of Christ in your area, how to get involved with the local fellowship where there's love, not legalism, not religion, but fellowship where there's love, brotherly relationships, and people to encourage you. And as you come through this program, you're going to be qualified to encourage others. So you become part of the edifying help to others as well. So keep up the good work. I want to keep encouraging you. So today is step 10, day 70, and this is a review of step 1. And we can say this together. I continue to practice daily what I've learned. That is the step that you're on now. And before we go on, I'm going to go to the character definitions at the back. Character definitions, and I'm thinking we are on positive thinking today. So positive thinking, this is our little copper here. He always comes to say hello to me. He feels a bit neglected, so he's come up to say, who are you talking to and how long are you going to be? And what do they smell like? That's what he wants to know. All right, positive thinking, an attitude of confidence, assurance, and optimism. The firm, secure belief that God is in control of your life and will use all things to benefit you in some way. So this taking on a positive thinking, I want to really encourage you. Think about what this means to you. The longer you've been in a life of addictions, the more negative you see things, from a negative lens. Would you agree with that? Life, because you're seeing darkness, you're seeing futility, frustration, and so your whole mind is probably taken on a very negative view. And so hopefully through this course, you're starting to see the more positive side of things. But I want you to think about just being a positive thinker. Today, I can't stand being around negative people that are negative. I really can't. I love them. But if they're just going to talk negative, if I can't change the tone of the room by being there, I will leave. I'm not going to hang around negativity. It brings you down. It's like decharging your battery. And I know you know what I mean. So positive thinking, an attitude of confidence, assurance, and optimism. Thinking things more positive. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? Thank God for the glass that's half full, and don't complain about the half empty. It's just a different perspective, but it makes you appreciate God in the little things. An attitude of confidence, assurance, and optimism, a firm, secure belief that God is in control of your life, and He will use all things to benefit you in some way. Now that you're turning your heart over to Him, He's going to turn things that were once negative and let you see the positive outcomes that can come from that. And you really can begin to see the positive outcomes that come from that. Romans 8:28 says, And we know that God causes all things to work together for good, to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So now you just got to ask this question. Do you love God? Are you beginning to love him? Do you sense a call, that you're called to follow him? The emptiness of your life, the questions that you've had all your life, now you have a chance to say, is there a calling in my life, and does God have a purpose for me? So I want you to think about that verse. That'd be a good verse to memorize if you're ever going to do a verse. This verse here, and we know that God causes all things to work together for the good. All things will work together for the good to those who love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose. And then that was Romans 8:28, and Isaiah 26:3. You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you. What would it be like for you to have perfect peace? Isn't that an awesome thing? You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, whose thoughts are fixed on you. Perfect peace. What does that mean? What does a promise like that mean from God, to have perfect peace? So the opposite of positive thinking, of course, is the negative thinking, an attitude that is pessimistic, unhopeful, discouraging, or gloomy, habitual, expecting a bad outcome, doubt and uncertainty. You've lived there way too long. Time to leave the negative thinking behind. And I want to encourage you right now at this point, this can be a life-changing moment for you. Just say, I choose to leave negativity behind. I don't even want to like it anymore. I want to embrace being more positive and being more upbeat about life, seeing things from a good perspective. And it's all about what's in your mind. You develop a healthy mind, memorizing these scriptures, putting into practice what you're learning, and your mind is becoming healthy. And what's happening, you're automatically going to start seeing good where you previously didn't, because there's light shining in your spirit. Before there was darkness, and from darkness, that's what you see is darkness. But light is something that's very beautiful. So run away from the negativity and embrace the light. All right, so we're going to go over to day 70. This is step 10, day 70, review of step 1. Step 1 is, I admit that I'm powerless over the problem controlling my life. We must never allow ourselves to forget being powerless over our life-controlling problems. As time passes, our minds tend to disregard the emotional pain. We must remember the horrible cycle of crisis, confusion, failure, and disappointment, or we will certainly repeat it. If you just block things out, you're going to do the same things you did in the earlier years. You're going to have the same responses. You're going to end up in the same boat. And it's like you go around this mountain again and again and again. You ever see a dog chasing his tail and they can hardly ever get a hold of it? And if they do, it's very short-lived. They just go round and round and round and round. Do you ever feel like that? You're just going round and round and round on the same issues over and over again. So as time passes, our minds tend to disregard the emotional pain. We must remember the horrible cycle of crisis, confusion, failure, and disappointment, or we will certainly repeat it. In order for us to give up control of our lives to a compulsive negative behavior, we had to choose the path of least resistance. The easy way out, the decision that required the least effort or emotional discomfort on your part. We must carefully consider our daily choices, knowing that the right choice is usually the most difficult to carry out, but has the greatest rewards. So learning to make the right choice definitely has great rewards, and you're going to see the fruit of that. Proverbs 14:12, before every man there lies a wide and pleasant road that seems right, but ends in death. That verse has always been in the Bible, telling us that, before every man there lies a wide and pleasant road. We've been on it. That seems right, but it ends in death. How many people do you know today that have died from, overdoses or, accidents because of drunkenness or drugs? It's a death. That road leads to death. Thank God that you're off of it. You're getting off that road and you're getting onto the path of life. It's a narrower path, but a lot more joyous. You now understand that chemical addiction, he says, is incurable, progressive, and fatal. It is incurable because the physical allergy is irreversible. It is progressive because it never gets better, only worse. And it is fatal because if left untreated, the addiction to drugs or alcohol will eventually kill you. You have learned that you alone are responsible for your former dependency problem. Denial and projection are the only excuses to hide behind the false security of your addiction. Poor judgment and improper choices almost destroyed your life, but God's love and forgiveness has restored you to sanity, sobriety, and a purpose for your future. Always keep a thankful heart for God's guidance. Friends who stayed with you through your struggle and the opportunity to prove your accusers wrong by living a godly, successful life. And the scripture verse is Proverbs 23:12. Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. So what I want to encourage you here is make sure that you're applying your heart to knowledge, applying your heart to discipline and your ears to the words of knowledge. So you're listening, you're learning, and then you're applying. But this step one, we go back and review that. And so make sure that you've come to a place where you absolutely have admitted that you're powerless over the problem controlling your life. That's just being humility, and that's allowing God to come into your life because you need somebody. You can't do this alone. It's really admitting that you can't do it alone. With 8 billion people on the planet, do you suppose that God meant us to have supports along the way? Do you suppose He meant us to have some good, meaningful friendships, good, meaningful accountability partners, to live life, to enjoy our family, to leave a legacy behind for the next generation? We have all those privileges. So that first step was very key in you coming through the rest of the program. And then when he says, we chose the path of least resistance. And so looking back, when you're in a survival mode, you just find ways of surviving. Lying, conniving, cheating. You just find ways of getting out of difficult situations. We end up taking a really bad path in life because of choices that we made to not do the right thing, but to go with what was easier. And so now you're being encouraged to make the right steps, the right choices. And in the beginning, they're tough to make because it means breaking away from the crowd. It means breaking away from your own mental thinking that you've developed. But the fruit of it, of making these new decisions, is absolutely fantastic. So when you move forward, you're gonna see the fruit of that and say, wow, there really is life beyond all this. There really is an opportunity to become a new me. I can live the life that I've dreamed of, but you've got to take some crucial steps to do it. And the greatest rewards will come. Now, when he talks about, you now understand that chemical addiction is incurable, progressive, and fatal. It is incurable because the physical allergy is irreversible. Now, what I believe that have come to believe that means is that outside of God, these things are irreversible because you've taken in these ways of thinking, these tracks that you're going to slide down now. The addiction inside of you has become very, very powerful, and you tried to break away from it before and couldn't. So you have to agree that it is an incurable situation outside of God, But when God comes in, you can be completely healed because of Him. The new creation is not what you once were. However, if you've had an addictive personality, you don't want to go and toy with those things that once enslaved you. Unless, if the Lord hasn't set you free, you'll slide right back into those things. And so, and many of you know what a relapse is. And if relapses have been difficult for you because you find yourself not able to just go out and do, have a glass of wine or a beer, if you can't do that and stop, then you just don't do it. Don't let those things ruin your life. Whatever takes you down a downward path, stay clear of it. Make sure that you set yourself on a right path and don't give yourself occasion to go back to the things that have enslaved you. Once you have a new creation developed in you, you're going to be a new creation, and you're going to love the freedom and the joy that gives you. Poor judgment and improper choices almost destroyed your life. So why would you want to go back to them? Those improper choices which almost destroyed your life. But God's love and forgiveness have restored you to sanity, sobriety, and a purpose for your future. So you think about now the purpose that you may think you have for your future. I want to encourage, why not ask the Lord, what do you have for my future? What did you put me on the planet for? And just begin to ask those questions, and you watch how a direction can begin to come and take over your life. I'm doing what I'm doing today, something I never dreamed of. Leading people, talking to people, helping people. I was always the guy that took people down a wrong path and was a bad example. But now, I love that people ask me questions. I love that people, want to know if I'll pray for them or encourage them. I cherish that. That's trusting relationships that grow. Not everybody comes to me in that way. And not everybody will come to you in that way. But those who respond to you, watch the body language as you grow in your faith. Certain people will be drawn to you, just like bees to honey. And those ones you want to spend time with, because that's a God-ordained relationship. You may be a brother or a sister to someone, or a mother or a father figure in the faith. And definitely as you grow in your recovery, you're going to be used to help others. And that's one of the greatest joys that you have, is that now you have the privilege of being in a stability in somebody else's life, if I can put it that way. You can help bring stability. You who once had no stability at all, God can use to bring stability into another person's life. And you'll be able to believe for them the things that they can't believe for themselves in the beginning. I was sharing with our guys yesterday that, my beginning was really because I'd met my wife at a young age in the faith, and she would encourage me and say, "You're a new creation." And I'd start opening up to her about my past and telling her, where I'd come from. And I gave her every opportunity to walk away from me. But she loved the Lord. And she would encourage me that you're a new creation. You're not who you were. The old you is gone. You're a new person. And man, I'm telling you, that had such an effect on me, that someone could see who I was becoming and not hold all the things of my past against me. And we all need people like that in our life. You do, I do, and that's what fellowship is. And that's why I'm hoping at this point, as you're coming through this program, that you're finding a group somewhere of believers. Make sure they're believers, because they're going to be the positive ones. A group of believers, a church. Don't be afraid to venture into some churches. Just pray. Say, "Lord, lead me to a place where I will feel like I fit in." And you may go to 5 or 6 different churches before you find that. I'll tell you what happened to me when I first got out. And I got married to Rose, and we moved out with my aunt for a couple months. And when we moved out of my aunt's, we finally got our own apartment in Toronto. And there was a few churches in the area. And I just felt kind of drawn to go to this church that was a little further. And it was walking distance, but it was further than at least one other church, and possibly a couple at that time. And just a drawing in my spirit. And so as I got to this church, and I looked at the building, and I thought, this isn't a church I would normally go into. It looked like a well-to-do church. It was nice, a very nice building, and cars in the parking lot were all very nice. And I was just starting over again, after 5 years of being in prison, 4.5, almost 5 years. And I go walking into this church, and this guy comes walking across the foyer. "Hi, I'm John Clark." And he puts out his hand and asked me who I was. I said, "I'm Cal Maskery, and this is my wife, Rose. And good to have you here. I'm glad you came." We chatted for a few minutes, and man, I felt the presence of God and welcomed even before I got into the sanctuary. I was just in the foyer of the church, but that man knew how to make me feel welcome. And so we went back again next week. And when I went the next week, he was talking to somebody, and as soon as he caught me, his eye caught me, he traveled across the foyer. "Hi, Cal." He remembered my name. "Hi, Cal and Rose. Good to have you here. I'm glad you came back among us, and so glad you're here." And I'm telling you, that guy made me feel so welcome in that church. So already going into that setting, I had a good mindset, because I'd had a good experience at the front door, And so look for places like that where there's love, where there's acceptance, and you'll feel like you fit in, and you'll never want to leave, because that'll be part of your growth. All right. So the prayer: "Lord God, thank you for your love and forgiveness. Help me remember how my life used to be filled with crisis and confusion, so that I will not return to my former choices and behavior." So today I want you to date it. Put today's date. Oh, before you do that, we're going to say this together. Today, I will make right choices and gain control of my life. That's the statement you're going to live with every day. Today, I will make right choices for this day and gain control of my life. So, and then I want you to sign it and date it. And remember, this is your 24-hour contract with yourself, with God, and myself. And I want you to be honorable to it. You keep being honorable to these 24-hour contracts, and you're going to have, a month in, 3 months in. Hopefully some of you have almost 3 months in, because we're coming to the end of this 90-day program. And so I want to encourage you, when we're done, that you'll carry on with the things you're learning. Even go back and review it. Go back and do this again, and I'm telling you, you'll just get deeper. A friend of mine, Randy, who teaches this, so you see him on here with me sometimes, and I'm either doing it or Randy. And he says, "Cal, every time I teach this, I get something out of it. Just being involved with others, sharing it, and new insight comes. We're growing, right? We're just part of the growing community." And so I want you to do your DCI chart. Make sure you go to the back of the book and do your DCI chart, or go back to the photo that you had earlier and complete it. And just keep on doing that. Take 10 minutes a day to do that. And then at the end of a few weeks, every few weeks, you can look back and say, wow, things are more positive. You'll see more check marks rather than X's on how you've done that day. So God bless you. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you tomorrow.